There we go. we're up and running.
Yep.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Shoot the Work with Lewis and Jason.
That, of course, is Lewis, and I'm Jason, and we're back with another dodgy intro.
Yes. I I swear one day we'll get that right. One day we will get how Skype works with recording.
I know, I know. Yeah. So I'm sorry, you guys, that we've been missing for a little while.
Yeah.
Um, we've just been trying to work out the direction that we want to go. In these new podcasts. So we have some news.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to share the news?
Sure. So Jason and I have decided that we will still be doing our normal, wrestling content. But on top of that, we're going to start doing a bit of MMA as well. So primarily UFC, because that's the biggest one. That's what we both watch. But we'll be looking at more MMA focused content and a bit of crossover as well. Which brings us on to what we're going to be discussing today. So we thought for the first episode, to sort of showcase what we're going to be doing going forward is we're going to look at people who have made the change from either wrestling to MMA or vice versa. Um, but yeah, so going forward, we're going to be doing a few different things, just to kind of keep it interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. So to kick off this new direction, why not talk about both at the same time?
Yeah. Um, for all
um,
for all the people that have been listening to the wrestling content so far, as I say, we will be doing some episodes like this where we mix the two of them, but we'll have our sort of wrestling episodes and we'll have our MMA episodes. So if you're not into one or the other, then you still get plenty of content to enjoy.
yeah, of course, and I promise that we're actually going to start putting out content on probably a more regular basis than what's been happening lately. Um,
No, we've just been in the same boat as the rest of the world, really, with so much going on. It's hard to sort of keep up with these sorts of things. This is a lot easier when we're both furloughed, but it's a bit harder now that we're back at work and everything.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, once you guys start listening a bit more, then we'll quit our jobs and we'll put out more content.
Exactly. Tell your friends. um,
We should probably kick this off, and we're obviously discussing people that have been wrestlers and then maybe MMA stars and vice versa. So obviously, wrestling, pro wrestling has been around for a lot longer than what MMA has been around for.
yeah,
Uh, so it's probably safe to say that a lot more people were moving from wrestling into MMA before they were moving to wrestling. Um, so who was the first sort of who was the first sort of person that you can think of that really sort of moved from like WWE or a wrestling company to an MMA brand?
well, the thing is, because it's funny because when sort of MMA started, the first sort of promotions. I mean, you had like your Pride, which was over in Japan and stuff like that. So, which obviously in Japan, wrestling is a lot more mainstream than it is pretty much anywhere else. So you
Yeah,
had quite a lot of people who were wrestlers that sort of moved across. But in terms of your sort of Western big names that people would know,
yeah,
say one of the first guys to do it was Dan Severn. Very, very popular wrestler back in the day. And then he made the move across. I think he was a heavyweight
yeah.
um, in Pride, and he was pretty good at that too. Turned out.
Was that the guy with the tash? Was that guy?
Yeah, that was the guy with
Yeah.
the magnificent tash.
Yeah, because like I have seen him, but funnily enough, as much as a wrestling fan I am, I've actually seen him more in like old sort of UFC and sort of Pride sort of videos, and he was a badass.
Yeah.
in terms of wrestling though, I'm not actually that clued up on what he was like as a professional wrestler, but as an actual legit fighter, he was a badass.
Yeah, another guy who did it pretty early on, one of the sort of bigger names, funnily enough, in Japan was Antonio Inoki.
Mm,
So he was one of the first guys who he sort of blended the two together. Because back in the sort of early days of MMA, it wasn't as sort of regulated as it is now.
yeah,
So there is a lot of speculation that although it was real fighting, it was still fixed who was going to win. And Antonio Inoki was one of the guys who started doing these MMA shows, but they would. It's not being confirmed, but it's pretty much known that it was fixed because he was the wrestling champion, so he wanted to bring more eyes to wrestling.
yeah,
Um, but he was massive. Like if you've never seen Antonio Inoki, Google a picture of him. The guy was like 7 foot tall. He was huge. But yeah, he was also one of the sort of first name like big names to make the move across. But it's slightly different. Back in those days.
yeah. No, definitely. Especially Pride got a lot of flack for that. They were saying that some of their matches weren't legit and stuff. They were saying there
Yeah.
was a lot outside sort of dabbling with results and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and of course now we know Pride's no longer with us. So, hmm. But the first sort of mainstream guy that I remember being an MMA fighter, we were just discussing him actually, was Ken Shamrock. He was the first that I sort of remember, um,
Yeah.
because he was sort of branded as a wrestler as sort of like one of the baddest men on the planet type deal, and then he just decided to go out and sort of prove it like this is not a gimmick.
Yeah. Well,
um,
that's the thing because before he made the jump to MMA, he was a wrestler, but he wasn't overly popular. Like he was quite new to wrestling.
yeah,
Because we just did a bit of fact checking there on this one. So he'd only actually been wrestling for a few years in Japan. And he then made the move across to UFC. And well, I think primarily it was Pride first of all that he moved to. So he fought in
yeah,
Pride for a few years, and he did both at one point as well.
yeah,
So when he left Pride, came to WWF at the time, and had his sort of initial run there, where, as you say, he was billed as the sort of baddest man on the planet, but um, his first run in Pride, he wasn't as famous, but
yeah,
then after his wrestling run, he then became a lot more popular. Which then, when he then left and went back to do UFC and fight, Tito Ortiz and Royce Gracie and those sorts of guys, he had a lot more of a following by that point.
yeah,
Um,
definitely,
but yeah, and then at one point he was doing TNA as well as actual UFC fighting
yeah.
at the same time. So it's just pretty cool that he sort of kind of jumped between the two regularly as opposed to making the change and then sticking with one.
Yeah, and I would say it's safe to say he was sort of safe to say what would I say? He's a pioneer. That was the word I was looking for because
Yeah,
UFC was still very new. Just before he started, it was almost like two guys get in a cage and they almost fight to the death, and that was it. You know what I mean? That's the rules. The rules are there are no rules.
mm,
So then he came in and they started sort of regulating it a bit more, and eyes were actually on the product with him and Tito and Liddell was coming through, and it was just that sort of
yeah.
group that probably why it's so big and why you're starting to everybody's watching it now.
Plus, I think as well, like for casual fans, I think a lot of people seem to underestimate the sort of influence that Ken Shamrock had on the sport because UFC. I mean, because I mean, you think about like the whole thing with him and his brother, Frank Shamrock, and like the Lions Den gym, which the people have talked about it before. Obviously, nowadays this whole sort of almost it's actually very similar to the way professional wrestling is it's like stables. So you have your gyms, and these guys are part of the gyms, and that's their team, and they work together and things. But back then that wasn't a thing. As you say, it was very different back then. It was just two guys would be locked in a wee cage and they'd fight each other until one of them wasn't awake anymore.
Yeah,
But he started the Lions Den gym, which was the first sort of team that was set up in mixed martial arts. Which I think when you think about the amount of like teams there are now, most big fighters they have a team and
yeah,
of other fighters that they've got each other's back, and they're promoting each other and things like that. He was the one that started that really. So it's cool to think about, that wrestler guy that a lot of people discounted when he first moved over ended up being one of the more influential people in the whole sport.
yeah. I think as well. I think UFC needed him at that point as well
Mm.
because, like, at that point they're very new. Not a lot of people watch it. People still think it's like for a bunch of savages. Like, why would you? Why would
Yeah,
you watch that? And then they were like, "Oh no, hang on, that's Ken Shamrock. I know that guy." You know what I mean?
yeah. Plus, I mean, that's certainly not to discount, the work that Tito Ortiz put in, because he
Yeah,
certainly brought a lot of eyes to the product as well, just with how entertaining he was back then. Um, and the sort of guys that came up just at the right time. UFC is funny because the amount of the history behind the UFC is all very circumstantial for it to have worked out. Like
oh yeah,
things happen in just the right moment for it to
uh,
be successful.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. When you look at the history, I think Dana White, obviously the president of UFC, said that they were like literally like a month away from just going bust and saying, "Let's call this quits. This isn't going to work."
yeah, no, definitely, that's
Um,
it.
crazy.
But
But yeah.
I'd
What was
say
I going
because I mean, after Shamrock, there's been a couple. Because this is the thing with the likes of especially Japan, there is a lot of people who have done it. But in terms of sort of name draw value, I'd say the one of the biggest ones after Shamrock had to be Lesnar. See Lesnar making that move across.
He's the biggest, and he's probably.
Yeah,
I think he's
hands
the
down.
only one that obviously Ken Shamrock was good, but as like if you look at the history, he was never champ. He,
Yeah,
he, he could never get that last guy to get the belt. So Lesnar is
yeah,
probably the first one that legitimized it and was like, yeah, we're WWE guys, but I'm tough. I'm tough as
yeah.
hell. I can
I'm
kick for
I'm
ass.
a big skinny bastard.
Oh, pretty much. And, and he came in and just annihilated everybody, and it was just you could see it. Like these guys underestimated him. He's just a big WWE meathead, and then before they knew it, he was on top of them, pounding their face in, and they're like, "What did I do?"
You know, and this is the thing because I mean it goes to show you the sort of the business sense that Dana White has in his head. He's such a smart businessman because you look at like Lesnar, right? When Lesnar came in, and he had one um, pro fight when he joined the UFC and got signed, and straight away he was fighting Frank Mir. Now he lost to Frank Mir, but he rocked him. In that
Yeah,
first round, he rocked him hard and then get caught in that heel hook, I think it was.
yeah,
But Dana saw what Brock could be. He knew that Brock was a scary guy and that he could kick ass. So
yeah,
he then, he had a couple more fights, and then all of a sudden he was beating Frank Mir, and he was the heavyweight champ.
yeah. And wait, have you heard that famous promo in the Octagon when he beat Frank Mir?
Oh yes, I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
I,
I'm gonna go home and mount my wife.
I when he's like, I told Frank Mir 2 years ago he had a horseshoe up his ass, and now, well, look what I did. I beat him over the head with it.
Oh, funny man. Nah, Brock Lesnar, he's at the risk of maybe one day getting beat up by him if I ever meet him. He's very lucky he's had Paul Heyman when he was in WWE because he's not a good promo guy.
I don't know. Like, see when he was, he was cutting promos by himself when he first joined WWE.
Yeah, but it was weird.
Well,
Like the whole push-up contest with Kurt Angle was just
nah,
weird.
to be fair though, I do get it because he's very much in the same bracket for me as Mike Tyson. Like the voice doesn't match the body. Like,
Yeah, voice I'd say takes away from the whole intimidating persona because he's got like such a high voice.
I'm the beast, Brock Lesnar.
I'm the beast.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You
Yeah,
ever
no.
seen that? Like, I think he's fighting Triple H. He like puts him through a table or something, and he screams, but his voice cracks an absolute peach. He's like, ah, ah! It's so funny, man. Oh,
My
but
goodness.
nah, no, Brock Lesnar, I'd say out of all of them past before him and after him, he's probably been the sort of biggest, like, oh my god, it's Brock Lesnar.
He's the most successful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. In terms of like, oh, you're sideways now.
I know. Hang on, I'm having some technical difficulty here.
Well, but
Um,
yes, what I was saying there, in terms of like actual accomplishments, yeah, I mean, he didn't have the best fight record because obviously he didn't have that many fights. Um, so I think by the end of it, is he not like 4-3 now or something? Over,
Brock.
yeah, he's not had that many fights overall, and he's lost a few.
Well, I know he had Mir twice,
Yeah,
and
he lost once and beat him once.
and then he had the big ones that I know off the top of my head is he had Mir twice, he had Cain Velasquez who kicked his ass, and
Yeah,
then uh,
Alistair Overeem, who also kicked his ass.
Overeem was one of them though. Did he beat him or did his diverticulitis beat him? Who beat Brock?
Well, I mean, to be fair, right? What was the disease called?
Diverticulitis? I can't believe you told me you got me to do that twice. I couldn't even say
So,
it the first time.
no, well, I don't know. It was only because I was so impressed that he said it the first time. I was like, "Oh shit, he knows that." But
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think that's
take that out of the equation, whether that was a factor or not, because it's similar to the whole like Sean O'Malley thing, right? Yes, fair enough, that was a pre-existing health condition, but
Mm.
Alistair Overeem still did boot him right in the ribs. Like Alistair Overeem kicked him right in the liver and folded him in half, and then
Yeah,
proceeded to start punching him.
yeah. To be fair, I think the point that a lot of people make is that that disease is exactly where he kicked him.
Yeah, well, that's not you shouldn't discount Alistair Overeem for that. That's a clever move on his part. Then it's like everyone that always says, "Oh yeah, just kick Sean O'Malley's legs." He's like, "Yeah, I mean, I know I have bad legs, but I know you're going to do that, so I'm going to check your kick."
Oh,
And now,
I'm
if
that
he knew
guy.
he had that disease, he should have been more protected.
I'm that guy. To be fair, every Sean O'Malley fight now, I'm just like sitting there on my couch going, "Kick him in the leg."
I know, but it's like I say, it's similar to the whole Sean O'Malley thing. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. He had a hurt ankle, he
Mm.
twisted on it, and that was what kind of screwed him over. But then that guy still knocked him out with elbows. Like he got him
Yeah.
down and started pummeling him.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you can't discount that because he still beat
No.
him.
Yeah. Definitely. And to be fair, at that time he wasn't fighting over Reem, he was fighting Uber Reem.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're
That guy
talking
was
about
a scary dude, man. When he was younger and he was jacked. He was a scary, scary dude.
yeah. No, definitely. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was also a heavyweight champion at one point, so it's
Yeah.
hard to kind of take that away from him.
Mm.
But now Lesnar is definitely one of the sort of biggest ones. Although, do you know what I only found out like yesterday, or maybe even today? Actually, it might have been this morning. I didn't know that Bobby Lashley fought in UFC.
I didn't know he had a UFC fight. I thought he was was
Well,
it Bellator? I thought he was.
yeah, you might be right. Actually, I know it was MMA. I always do that. I always say UFC instead of MMA.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Bellator because me, as everybody that watches this knows, Mr. TNA over here. Um,
Also a
uh,
big Bellator fan. You just like going against the grain.
I'm not a Bellator fan. I just happen to know a few of the guys from Bellator, but yeah, well, not personally. I don't like phone them, but I just know who they are.
To be fair, from my understanding, I've not watched much Bellator, like not actually watched the shows and stuff. But
Uh,
from what I know about it, it seems like the TNA of the MMA world. It's where like all the old guys go.
it used to be, and
Because
that
isn't Chael Sonnen and like didn't Chael Sonnen and Tito Ortiz fight in Bellator like recently?
he did. They've also just signed. Well, I'm trying to I'm trying to be like this is not how they work, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure they just signed. Oh, who's the big guy that fought Adesanya and they had a terrible fight? What's his name?
No,
Yes, Gilbert Romero. They just signed him, and he's 40.
no way. Oh, oh god, yeah. So by the sounds of things, Bellator is definitely the TNA of the MMA world.
Exactly, and when they like TNA, like TNA, how it ended up is when they do get a good homegrown talent, then UFC swoops in and gets them. Chandler.
Yeah, 'cause didn't thingy Demetrius Johnson didn't he get traded to Bellator for Ben Askren?
He's at one championship, and that's where Ben Askren came from.
I
And
was at what? I
they,
thought it was
they're even
Bellator.
they're even although they've got a few good guys, they're even smaller. They're like ROH. Because Demetrius Johnson swapped for Askren, and then the only other guy I know there is Alvarez because after Conor McGregor kicked his ass, he went to one. Um,
Hate Conor McGregor. Just so that we're clear, right? Because I feel like I may as well just state this now before we start doing loads of MMA content. I feel like I may as well just stating this. I cannot stand Conor McGregor.
oh,
I hate him.
but but
He's the most overhyped bullshit artist I've ever
what
seen.
what I'm going to do is I'm
And
going to.
his whiskey is terrible.
Have you tried
Yeah, I've tried it. Proper 12, yeah, I've tried it. They sell it in Morrison's. It's nasty stuff.
it? Is it proper nasty? Is that what it is?
It's cheap whiskey.
Is it cheap? I didn't know this.
Oh, no, it's like actually expensive, but it tastes like cheap whiskey.
Oh, right. What I'm going to do is I hope you don't mind, I'm going to grab Conor McGregor. I'm going to sit him over here. We're going to talk about you later, buddy, because you're going to come back
Yeah,
in here.
yeah. Well, we'll talk about him later, but I just want to put that out there that I hate him. But
Just before I do get onto that subject, let me tell you, it's not going to be nice words I say, okay?
but no,
Yeah.
talking about the other guys that had a fairly quiet MMA career, another guy that again I didn't know until I read it somewhere online. Batista. Batista also had an MMA fight.
Was it just one?
I think it was only one he had. I'm sure it was only one.
But I'm pretty sure he absolutely mangled the guy. Because,
Yeah, I think he did actually.
but to be fair, when I think I watched it, this was ages ago, because I think it was years ago he had this fight. And I think what they did is they put him in the cage with some big fat guy. Like, that honestly, he looked like he could do like 30 seconds and he would be out of puff.
Yeah, so he fought in it was Strike Force.
What's it?
Hmm.
Strike Force is the one that UFC bought in it. Is that
Yes,
right? Uh
yeah.
huh.
I TKO in the first round, and it's his only fight ever.
Yeah, going back to Bobby Lashley, Bobby Lashley was great for TNA at the time, and the reason why he went to TNA was because of Bellator, because he wanted to do MMA, but as we know, Vince McMahon is smart, and he's like, well, if you're going to risk getting your ass knocked out, you're not going to be on my roster because I'm not going to have you like messing up WrestleMania because you got knocked out. So that's not going to happen. So he went to TNA because they had a partnership with Bellator at the time. So
Oh, sorry, I've pulled it up there just about Bobby Lashley. I didn't realize how long he fought for. He's 15-2. That's his record.
is he?
Yeah,
I know he fought
seven
Bellator, but I
professional
thought I
fights.
thought he had like 5, 6 fights, something like that. But
17 fights. So no real kind of big names he's fought or anything, but yeah, he fought. So he fought one, two, three, four, 5 fights in Bellator. He fought for Strikeforce twice, and then the rest were all sort of indies he fought for. Um, but yeah, he went
how did he
15
get
and
on in
two,
Bellator? Like, what was his record at Bellator?
defeated.
5-0.
Yeah, 5-0 in Bellator. So he had 6 knockout wins, 6 submission wins, and 3 decision wins, and he only had 1 decision loss and a knockout loss.
Wow. Probably getting knocked out has put him clean off it. Like, nope, that's not happening. Not getting knocked out again.
He won 2 independent championships as well.
Yeah, because what I was saying there was that the TNA had a partnership with Bellator, so they
Yeah.
had him as a wrestler, and he was fighting at Bellator, and then it's because they were on the same network. I should state that. But what happened was Bellator then, in return, because we're talking about crossovers, would give TNA MMA guys to go on their show.
Yeah, didn't T Ortiz appear in
Tito
TNA?
Ortiz in Bellator was supposed to be fighting Rampage Jackson. So where old guys go to die. Yes, you're right. Okay. So Rampage Jackson was fighting Tito at Bellator. And then they brought them both over so that they were feuding in TNA so that it would put eyes on TNA and it would build up their feud in real life. You know what I mean? But what actually happened was that they weren't allowed to touch each other, so they were in tag matches where they just shouted at each other from the apron, and they cut promos in each other, and it's pretty much like a UFC press conference, but they did it inside a TNA ring. That's what they did. It sucked. They also brought another guy over as well. They always had him as an enforcer in like all these matches. It was called King Mo. Have you heard of him?
I have heard of him.
He,
How
he
have
was
I heard?
he was one of the sort of homegrown Bellators. I think like he wasn't like, and he was up and coming for a good while, and they had him being an enforcer in every single match that there ever was.
Oh no, that's nuts. Um, no, I mean you see it like it's funny because despite the fact that you look at Lashley's record, Lashley technically has a better record than Brock Lesnar, than Batista. Well, Batista's I suppose undefeated technically, but you know what I mean. Like he's had one of the better records of all the guys, but then he's one of the lesser known ones.
He has, because I don't know why, because I thought he would have, but he went to Bellator, as we've just realised here, he's undefeated 5-0. So you think, well, is that not you starting to fight for maybe a Bellator title or maybe move to
Yeah,
a bigger company?
at least in the rankings.
Yeah, but all he did was he went 5-0 and then went backwards. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know because that's probably looking at it. That's about the time he went back to WWE because
yeah,
he fought in Bellator up until 2020, which is when he would have left and went back.
actually, then I take it all back, Bobby Lashley. Don't beat me up. He
No,
went
sorry. Sorry, no, 2016 it was, not 2020. I don't know where I got 2020 from.
All right, okay. Then I don't take it back, Lashley.
No, right, so hold on, I'll pull it up here. So, uh, no, so rematch was scheduled to take place in 2015. Okay, so on August 29th, 2016, it was announced that Lashley would face Josh Aplett on the Bellator 162. He won via submission, and then in April 2018, Bellator officials stated that Lashley was still under contract with Bellator, even though he had returned to WWE. And then Bellator MMA announced on October 27th, 2020. Wait, so it's only like a few months ago that Lashley had been released. So technically, this whole time, he's still technically been contracted as a Bellator fighter. He's been in WWE and not fought.
Right.
So technically, he was actually still employed with them.
That is wild. But
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I can't believe I've never heard of any of this.
well, I obviously knew about the early career when he was actually fighting, but
Hmm.
but he's probably left himself the door open where he's like, well, if things don't work out at WWE, I'll be back in a wee minute. You know what I mean? But um,
I'm I'm surprised he's not went back by now then, because that was what 20. When did he come back? Was that 2017? He came
yeah,
back to WWE, and that's him only just in the last few months done anything interesting.
he got an early push, which was weird. It, it-
Yeah, but
he
then
got
it
an
was,
early, he got an early mid card push, and
yeah,
then
didn't really
and
go
then
very far.
and then him and Big Corbin were buddies.
Yeah,
Uh, that was like Corbin had his like super stable, didn't he, with all the big like heel meatheads.
yeah, that was oh yeah, because Drew McIntyre was in it. Him and Drew McIntyre were partners,
oh,
remember?
oh, why?
Because then everybody thought that Lashley was going to be the guy, and then it ended up no, it was Drew.
Yeah, because I could see that I could see Lashley winning Royal Rumbles and stuff.
I know because I remember a lot of folk thought he was going to win it one year, like recently, and then he never.
Like
So,
no 19 to be honest, yeah.
yeah, he was in talks, but um, yeah, I mean it's one of those things. He's obviously made the right decision because he's now WWE champion, so fair play to him, but.
Right to main event Mania, so I'm pretty sure he's happy with that.
Mm,
Or will
but
actually will he main event Mania, or will they give that to Sir Roman?
probably Roman. Because I reckon they'll have one of the nights will have a women's main event, and then one of the nights will have a men's. They'll
Yeah.
probably get like Sasha and Bianca on one of the nights, and then you'll get Roman and Brian and Edge on another. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's something to talk about for another episode, though.
That's episode definitely.
But,
Um, but yeah.
no,
So for what? Oh, the other one, I
yeah,
suppose.
there's a pretty big one that we've missed.
Well,
The I was saving the well, I don't want to say the best, but certainly the most interesting for last is our good old boy Phil CM Punk Brooks.
well, that wasn't going to be my choice. But go
No?
on, tell us more.
Oh, who was your choice?
Well, we forgot Big Jake Hager.
Oh, yeah! Oh my god! I'm supposed to be the AW guy, and I forget Jake Hager. Oh my god! I will cut that in post. So okay, so now that we're through with talking about Bobby Lashley, Jake Hager is another guy who's done pretty well for himself in Bellator.
It's this. Well, that was well remembered there, Lewis. I'm glad you brought that up there.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, no, he
I,
has been. What were you gonna say?
I like how I said I'm going to cut that in post as if I have any idea what that even fucking means. Like a jail. I don't know what's post. I don't even know.
Oh man,
Just
we need an editor in here real quick.
we'll pay you in smiles. And oh yeah, you can have an Angman page figure if you want as well. There's no
Wait,
most one.
you need to answer the question before you get it.
Yeah. Literally at this point, you don't even need to answer the question. Just messages saying I want it, and we'll give you it because
I,
it is literally just sitting there, and we have
I
nothing to do with it.
just send us a message saying I want it with your address and we'll post it out there.
Because I've already got one, and Jason's not a nerd, so
Nerd.
nerds. But yeah, if you want to just message us, you can have it.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, I just want it out of my house.
Back to our boy Jake Hager. Uh,
Yeah,
at first, when I heard about the news that he was going to Bellator, I was like, the man is going to get his ass kicked. He's going to
yeah,
get beat up.
good old Jack Swagger.
Yep. Hmm.
We the people. Oh, but yeah,
Um,
he proved a lot of people wrong with how he did in Bellator.
he did. I watched some of his early fights as well, and I watched them. And although he
Is he
was
still
impressive,
undefeated?
what is he still undefeated?
I think so.
His early fights, though, when you watched them, he was impressive, but there was definitely massive holes in his game. And I was like, see if somebody better like fights him, he's going to get absolutely done in. But he seems to have improved and improved. And I think you're right. I think he is undefeated. I'm sure he is.
I'll just check. Yeah, 3 wins, no losses.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, he did have one no contest that was he kept kicking somebody in the dick. Literally, it says repeated inadvertent groin strikes from Hager rendered Garrett unable to continue.
That's because he really coughed up his testicles.
Ooh, that's nasty.
Oh man, repeated kicks to the balls. Like honestly,
Kick him in the dick.
but yeah, CM Punk is the example of the biggest, the biggest fail in a crossover that we've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a pretty stone cold flop. Straight onto like oh, that was anticlimactic. Because 2 years, 2 fucking years, they built up that CM Punk was going to go fight in the UFC. They did all the training videos. I watched all the training videos, all the like. They did like a full documentary about his training camp and him going over. They did all the press conferences where he was pretty entertaining in the press conferences because he
Yeah.
is very good in those sort of situations. And yeah, they really put all their eggs in the basket that he was going to be good, and then he got absolutely pumped. And then Dana White buried his opponent, even though he won. 'Cause he's like, yeah, but that guy, I can't believe that guy. He's an idiot. He should have ended the fight a lot sooner than that. And then the guy's just like, Dana, I won. But why are you coming for me?
Was that Mickey Gall,
No, it was the other guy fought.
the
Mickey
second
Gall
guy?
was Mickey Gall was the first one. It was the
Yeah.
second guy fought that Dana White was like just basically went after as soon as the fight was over. And like the post fight, he's like, that guy's an idiot. It's like, the guy's just sitting there like, what the fuck?
Oh, the guy that's picking up a win bonus is the idiot, right? Okay. No,
Yeah.
that Mickey Gall was like, I was kind of excited for it as well, and I think probably Dana did the same thing as what we did. We just thought Brock Lesnar 2.0. But even when you look at it, if you look back at the actual training videos and stuff that you watched, he even sucks in training. You're like, nah, you're not UFC material. It's not going to happen.
Just go back to wrestling. I just wish he would come back to wrestling, honestly.
I
Like, come
know,
on.
I know, I know. I know that sucks, man. It real sucks. I'm trying to think. Was there anybody else? Is there anybody else that's made the switch from wrestling to MMA?
There probably is. We're like we're probably forgetting people.
Um,
Um,
um, Obviously, I know there was some that were attempted and never quite did it. Like Kurt Angle had offers, and Undertaker had offers. Um,
hmm. Oh, apparently Shinsuke Nakamura is a MMA
oh,
fighter.
but he's Japanese, so that like strong style shoot wrestling, like we were talking about at the start of this episode, it makes sense.
Ah, see, right, yeah. So this is where the Japan stuff's kind of interesting because his first, so Shinsuke Nakamura's first professional MMA win was at a New Japan show, New Japan Pro Wrestling Ultimate Crush.
So were they doing like wrestling, like pro wrestling and legit fights?
Yeah, apparently so.
Hmm. Now
I don't know.
we're on an episode discussing this stuff and we're learning at the same time.
Let's let's learn together, guys. Come
Yep.
on. But oh man, we are the most unprofessional podcast hosts. We do our research during the show.
Well, to be fair though, to be fair, a lot of other people that do podcasts either like share the screen and they're on Wikipedia, or they get somebody else to pull it up for them. Like
We don't yeah, see we've discussed this. We need a puller upper guy.
pull her up or guy if
No,
you're
no,
out
it's
there.
not we don't just need a guy to like do pull ups for us. Like we need someone who's gonna pull stuff up.
Oh,
Like
we need a jokes guy as well after that.
I
uh,
know that was. Do you know what happened there? Right, I started that joke without knowing where I was going with it, and it just sort of got away from me a little bit. I've had a long day. Okay, leave me alone.
try and put it
But,
back in your mouth.
oh God.
Right. So
Um,
now we've discussed about the amount of people that went from wrestling to MMA because it like
definitely people that we forgot about, but
yeah.
there's.
I'm sorry, you guys, if I forgot you, but
You
I'm
obviously
not
just went as.
yeah,
Um,
out of that. But because we discussed that, it's because wrestling was around first, so that's why people were making the moves to MMA first. But there's been a couple that moved the other way.
yes, there is. No, I was trying to.
That
Got
was
him
your
on.
cue to speak, Lewis.
I know. I got distracted. Sorry. Um, but no. So yeah, there has been a lot that have moved over. I'd say it's became more of like a sort of recent thing in the last few years.
Mhm.
I mean, we spoke about a few guys that made like appearances and stuff, like Tito Ortiz and Rampage Jackson, and I mean, obviously Ken Shamrock technically would fall under this category because he went
You
back
did
and
both.
quite a
Yeah.
lot. Same with Jake Hager, technically as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of the first sort of ones to make the official move from MMA to full time wrestling. I mean, I'd say the biggest one obviously has got to be Ronda Rousey, and the rest of the four horsewomen like Shayna Baszler. Uh, I've got this Jessamine Duke.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Uh, oh, what's the fourth one's name? Damn it! The fourth one, the one that had that weird nose thing on for ages.
No one like was
Marina
Jasmine just.
Schaefer.
Oh, boom.
Marina Schaefer. Marina.
Nah.
Got it. That's me. That's my productive moment of the day.
So there we go. We do know what we're talking about on this podcast. Uh,
Yeah, most definitely. But
um, Shayna
yeah,
Baszler for me, though, correct me if I'm wrong, is the most impressive one that went.
See, well, this is the thing, right? With Shayna Baszler, is she wasn't the best MMA fighter. She's a great wrestler. She's
Yeah.
amazing as a wrestler, and her whole character, everything she is scary. Don't get me wrong, she is scary,
Mhm.
but she wasn't the like a world class fighter.
No, I'm sure. If I'm right, I'm sure she was on like a women's division sort of Ultimate Fighter, and I'm sure she lost.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I think she was. Hold on, I'll pull
Yep.
it up. Okay, so mixed martial arts. Yeah, so she was on Tough. She was on
Huh.
The Ultimate Fighter. Uh, 2013, she was one of the fighters. So she was Team Rousey. So it was when it was Ronda Rousey and Misha Tate were the judge,
Oh
the
yeah.
coaches.
I remember this one. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, so she won via an armbar submission in the qualifier, and Ronda Rousey picked her.
Oh, so she won by armbar.
I like Jericho. Oh, I didn't know that. She's fought Amanda Nunes.
she lost to Amanda Nunes,
Oh
definitely.
yeah, yeah. So her first fight was against Beith Korea. I've definitely pronounced that wrong. And that was at UFC 177.
Mhm.
She lost via TKO. Then she fought Amanda Nunes at Fight Night 62, and back in 2015, she lost. Uh, she lost to leg kicks. Oh God. Yeah, she lost to leg kicks and then she was released. But
Yeah.
she made it to the final of the Ultimate Fighter, but then she got injured, so she had to pull out.
So she might have
That means
won
she
the
still
ultimate.
she still got to have a couple of fights with the UFC because she didn't technically get put out of it.
It must suck losing to leg kicks because you're getting kicked in the leg and you can barely walk. There's nothing you can do. It must be a horrible way to lose.
No, no. Definitely though, I'd say the
What
sort of
I'm saying
name
though,
is obviously Ronda. Like
yeah, what I'm saying though is she's the best that's moved from MMA and she's the best wrestler at the other side.
definite. Oh yeah, no, definitely. I see your point there. Um, mm, although counter proposal to you
Oh,
there,
okay.
one Matthew Riddle, or well, just Riddle now.
Matt Riddle.
Bro.
How did I forget him? Do 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 do. How could you? How could I
San
forget?
Andreas tune.
Isn't it, bro?
How could you forget the bro? The flip flop guy, or
Uh,
the now has his name changed to just a famous Batman villain. Introducing Riddle. Why is his name just Riddle now? That's the Riddle.
it's because Vince McMahon doesn't understand his character. That's why.
Oh no, well that's not why his name's Riddle now though. Do you know
He's a
why his
Vince
name?
man.
No,
No,
do you not know why they took the mat away? Well, so this is allegedly, right? This is why
like
they think.
this because of the Hardy tag team thing. Is that no?
No, no. So that was also like a thing that was just coincidence, but no, what happened was, do you not remember he got like accused of some, shall we say, dodgy stuff, part of the whole speaking out movement thing?
Oh yeah, tomfoolery. Yes.
Yeah. But he very much denied it. He did. I think they actually found out that it wasn't true, or there was some truth to it. Like he did have an affair with a woman, but then it wasn't what she said happened, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to comment too much on it because I don't know
yeah,
exactly what happened. But basically, apparently, that's why they changed his name so that because obviously, if anyone was googling Matt Riddle, all these stories were coming up as the search results. So
yeah.
then they changed his name to just Riddle. But then,
Uh,
if you search Riddle, either the Batman villain comes up, or it's just all the articles saying Matt Riddle, now known as Riddle.
yeah,
So it was just pointless. It didn't work. If that was what they were doing, I mean, it
yeah.
seems stupid. It doesn't seem like something that would make sense to do, but then it also does seem like something that WWE would do.
Yeah, I know. It's quite weird because the only reason why he's in wrestling is because UFC went through this weird stage. Like it was so odd, like
Mm,
where suddenly marijuana was classed as enough to stop your contract.
mm.
So
Yeah, because it was like a thing you would fail a drug test for marijuana.
you still do, but when it comes up saying
Yeah.
marijuana, they're like, "All right, okay, he
No,
smoked it."
that's what I mean. So it was when that started happening. I mean,
Yeah, because of that is why you don't have Nick Diaz anymore. You know what I mean? And Matt Riddle as well. Also, and Dana White was going crazy, going like, "Oh, he's got all this potential, but he's not going to fight with me because he can't stop smoking joints." Like,
I've seen that interview. I can just like, when you're so addicted to marijuana that you can't pass a drug test 2 times a year, 2 times a year, and you can't pass a fucking drug test. No, no, you're never gonna go anywhere.
I know, but then now you look at it, and Nate Diaz is one of his top draws. Hmm.
Oh, let's not, because we don't want Nate Diaz to call us out on Twitter here.
I want it. Bring that fire, bro.
I love Nate Diaz. Don't you be dissing my boy.
No, I'm not dissing him. What I'm saying is that I'm laughing at UFC for like getting his brother kicked out and he's not never fighting again. Matt Riddle kicked out, and but his top draw is the guy that probably smokes more marijuana than any of them. So
Although it's funny, right? Just in saying that because the whole Matt Riddle thing,
mm,
it speaks volumes about what WWE's drug policy must be because he very obviously does still smoke it.
yeah,
So
probably the
it's like,
same. It's probably the same.
how are they
Yeah,
not flagging that?
yeah, probably the same policies they had with RVD. To be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is the thing. It's like you're saying. It's the same thing with them. It's inconsistency because they stripped RVD of the title, both his titles, and nearly fired. I think they did. That was how he ended up getting fired. Was because he failed
Well,
another test for it.
it wasn't the drug test. It's because it's illegal to have, and he got pulled over in the car, and
Yeah.
actually charged with it while being WWE champion. So they were like, "No, you can't have police charges while being WWE champion. That's just not happening."
So,
um,
but like
but
I say, it's inconsistencies. I think
it
because
is. It is. We are obviously talking about guys that moved over. We've mentioned obviously. I think Baszler is the best wrestler that moved over. You think Riddle is? Riddle is fantastic though, but I'm edging Baszler. Baszler for me.
don't get me wrong, right? I absolutely love Shayna Baszler. I think she's brilliant. I think her biggest problem is her booking because obviously Vince McMahon doesn't really like her very much. But
Why?
yeah, I think both of them are very good. I don't know who I'm not necessarily saying that Riddle is a better wrestler because I don't know if I would say he is. I just personally like him more because I think he's
He,
really
yeah, he's got the entertainment side down.
yeah.
Um,
But I'm trying to think
and
who else has sort of made the move across that like
the
wasn't.
last year, of course,
Oh
came.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, could you really count Velasquez though? Like,
He had a legit match with Brock Lesnar. It wasn't a good match, but it was a match.
it was about 5 minutes. I've spent more time sitting in the toilet than he spent in a WWE ring.
Oh, that
Steven
is
this
going
was a joke, guy.
I was just going to say that's going to be like the clip for like Insta or like or just you going. I've spent more time on the toilet.
Hold on, wait. Let me get the sound bite. I'll do the clip, right? Okay. I've spent more time sitting on that toilet than Cain Velasquez spent in a WWE ring.
Oh my god. Oh, but see, talking about the Ronda Rousey, right?
Mm,
So when she moved over, she
mm.
impressed me with how she worked in the ring. I know she wasn't the safest at times, but ask Alexa Bliss what she thinks. Um, but I liked how she worked. She was maybe just a bit too aggressive at times. But
So I'm glad we've got on to Ronda Rousey. Okay.
what I was going to
Because
say though is that just before you're dying to tell me your point here. I can see this, but what I was going to say was that I wasn't impressed with her microphone work until her very last promo. The very last promo, Becky Lynch, when she was just like, "How long have you been the man for, Becky? How long you been the man?" And she's like, "I've been the man before anybody even looked at women like this." You know what I mean? And all this kind of stuff. And I was like, "That is quite fire, man."
so Ronda Rousey though, right?
Go for it.
I can't stand her. I think she's one of the worst examples of the sort of shameless cross promotion thing that WWE love doing. They do it a lot with Lesnar. Like, oh, he was, like for Lesnar, for example, right? So we spoke about Lesnar earlier with his UFC career, and yeah, I mean, he is a scary guy, but he's not got the best record in the world. They act like he does. They act like he was this unstoppable monster, and it's like he wasn't. He get beat with the first fight. First time he fought Frank Mir, he get beat. He get pumped by Velasquez. He get pumped over him. Like
Mm.
it even. I mean, technically, he really should have lost to Mark Hunt if it wasn't for the fact that he was doped out of his mind. But like they pretend like he was this unstoppable monster. Now the thing with Ronda is she had that done to her by both the UFC and WWE her whole career. She was always overhyped by everyone around her. And that was the biggest problem with Ronda Rousey was because she had that she don't get me wrong, she was brilliant at what she did. She was very, very good at getting folk down, twisting it into a way that she could rank their arm back and make them tap out. Fair enough. She was brilliant at it. She deserved to be champion. Yeah, okay, fair enough. However, she was absolutely shite on her feet. She was a terrible striker,
I
and she
know.
got knocked the hell out. And
Oh
then
yeah. Was
she
that
then
when?
got knocked out again. She get bumped in the what was it, Nunez, when she fought Nunez. She get pumped even worse than she did in the home fight,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
left the UFC in disgrace, came to WWE, again was totally overhyped. Not to say that she wasn't good, she was a very good wrestler. I was shocked at how good she was, and I was psyched. But then she started her whole thing with the fans and how she didn't like the fans and all this stuff. She blamed them for her leaving and all this stuff. She cannot take blame for her own shortcomings. And for me to sit and read on her Twitter talking about how we the wrestling fans are everything that's wrong with wrestling, right? I get looking at that from a fan's perspective. I see what she means, and I do agree to a certain extent. She should not be saying that though, because she's just going to alienate everyone against her. Do you know what I mean? And she can't then do that. She can't insult all the fans, say that all the fans don't appreciate what she's doing, and call them all out but then get mad and blame us because we say then, all right, well, go away then, we don't like you, and then go, oh, I can't believe you don't like me, you're all so fickle. Like, well, no, you're the one that put them all on blast. You can't then get mad that they all rejected you. It's the
Yeah.
way this works.
And the funny thing is that they rejected you because at the very end you were booked like a heel. We're supposed to not like you.
Exactly. She couldn't handle being booed even when she was meant to be booed.
She's getting booed and she's like, oh, I can't believe it. And like probably Vince is there like, no, you're doing your job. This is well done. She's like, oh, fucking hate these fans. Arr." You know what I
Do you
mean?
know what I noticed? It was the whole Sasha Banks thing because the whole when she fought Sasha Banks at the Rumble, and then Sasha Banks did the four horsewoman thing,
Yeah,
right? And everybody cheered Banks out the building even though she'd lost, and they booed Ronda out that ring. They
yeah,
I remember watching it, and they booed her all the way up the ramp. And this was before she was a heel. This is when she was still meant to be the good guy, and Sasha Banks was meant to be the heel. And Sasha got cheered out the building. Ronda got booed all the way up the ramp, and you could see it in her face. She was like raging. She was absolutely furious,
yeah.
and she, slitting about. She's like, "Oh, well, I won and all this," and that has always been her attitude, even when she was in UFC.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. She doesn't know how to handle a loss whatsoever.
She doesn't know how to handle being in the public eye. I don't think, because I mean, even before she lost, like the whole thing with Misha Tate, she was so disrespectful, and she just did gunny.
Yeah,
like,
well, on Tough, the first bit of Tough was basically her going, like, because Misha Tate wasn't supposed to be the other judge on Tough. And she was like a replacement. And it was like, oh, by the way, Ronda, your fight's off, but we've got somebody else for you. And she's like, who is it? It's like Misha Tate. And she was like, stopping a bit, like, oh, I'm not going to do Tough anymore because Misha Tate's on it. And oh, it was terrible. But like, honestly, she's only ever cut one good promo in the WWE, in my opinion, and it was when she had Becky Lynch like basically face to face in the ring, and she was supposed to be a heel, and she was just basically saying that she owns every ring she steps into, and like you've been the man 5 minutes, and I've been the man like forever, all this
I
kind
think
of stuff.
I remember the promo you're talking about. Yeah, because she always did come across. I thought really clunky in promos. Like it was very over exaggerated. I think to like the promo that she did with The Rock at WrestleMania before she was actually a wrestler. She came out and she did that thing with Stephanie and Triple H, and it was just a bit shite. Like,
Uh,
for
was
lack of a
that
better word, it
Stephanie
wasn't that
really,
great.
really trying her best to work with it? You could
Yeah,
tell. And then was this when she was all like, "I'm gonna pull your arm out of its socket," and you're like, "Okay then, Ronda, like whatever."
yeah, and she tried to do the whole any ring I step in is mine sort of thing, but then it was like, you're not a wrestler, you don't work for this company, you've never wrestled, so no, you really don't. Shit, like the woman that you're talking to, Stephanie McMahon, literally does own this ring, so you're not really making sense here, Rhonda.
That's like you go up to your boss and like, "This is my company now."
Like, take your judo pish elsewhere.
Aye.
Take your judo throws and arm bars and get to. But
So I think what we've said here is that the crossover between MMA and WWE, it's had some fairly mixed results, both
yeah,
ways. Both
yeah,
ways. Whether that be the pro wrestler first, it's been mixed, or you've been the MMA guy first, it's also been mixed.
yeah, yeah. You've had your sort of top of the line, bottom of the line, the sort of in between. The it's like I say. I mean, in terms of my personal favorites, like I say, Matt Riddle and Shayna Baszler from MMA to WWE definitely were my favorites. But Lesnar, I really liked Lesnar when he first went to UFC. I thought he was dead entertaining, and CM Punk, but for different reasons, because that was just
The,
funny.
the time that Brock Lesnar was on Tough always made me laugh because he was on Tough, and he was on Tough when Tony Ferguson was coming up. He was on Tough, and and he pissed them all off because his team won their first fight. They'd lost like 5 in a row, and then they won one. He's like, this is what we do here. We turn chicken shit into chicken salad. I guess, the whole team just looked at him and was like, did you just call me chicken shit? It was so funny. He's like, no, I meant that like you used to be shit, but now you're better.
See,
uh,
this is what I'm talking about though. He's not. He has his moments on the mic where it just doesn't make sense. Like, because have you not seen the like various like really weird promos he's cut, where he's just like, uh, oh, oh, how can I forget the best one? The Seth Rollins promo after Mania, and he's like backstage. He's obviously exhausted, and he's like, Seth Rollins, I'm coming for you, boy, and I'm coming hard. Oh, it's the fucking best. And the one where he goes in this little rant and it doesn't really make sense, and then he just goes, Paul, say something stupid. He like turns to Paul Heyman, he's like, Paul, say something stupid. And walks away. Like
oh my god.
he just gives up on whatever it was he was trying to say.
Oh man, he needs Scott Steiner to help him with his promos.
Uh, but see, like, so see, in terms of obviously, we've spoke about who has actually done it and
Yeah.
made the switch one way or the other. But let me ask you this, right? In terms of MMA guys, it doesn't have to necessarily be currently fighting, but past or present, is there anyone that you think would have been really good in WWE or possibly in the future could be?
Before we begin that, I just want to say that I think it's really funny how both started out and where they are now. So like WWE obviously is what it is, and then MMA was like, oh, we only like them. We are the real fighting, and what everything you see with us is real. But now in 2021, to get everybody invested, they have to do WWE promos, and they have to act like a WWE superstar, but then fight in real life. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
Because I don't know how I feel about that if I was in the UFC, because obviously you're hyping all this stuff up, and I'm going to absolutely wreck this guy, smash him to bits, and then if you get knocked out, you seem absolutely like an idiot because you said all this stuff and now you're laying out flat.
Conor McGregor is a perfect example of that. You
Yeah,
think about the amount of shit he's talked to people and then he's get pumped.
well, to be fair, apart from Khabib, he's Khabib he did talk a lot of shit, but um, every other time he kind of backed it up. To be fair,
Nate, Nate Diaz, the first time. And
uh,
technically the second time, because Nate really should have won the second fight as well.
I
But
think I think he should be 2-0 against Nate, but
yeah.
Nate has gang signs with one hand and balloon animals with the other.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing, because that's what I mean. Like he talks that much crap, and yeah, he then get completely gassed out by both of those guys.
Yeah,
Mayweather is another one. He got absolutely pumped by Mayweather. You think about all the trash talk he did in the lead up to that
that
fight.
was that was the worst, man. Like,
No, Habib was definitely the worst with the whole trolley through the bus and bringing in his dad and the entire country of Russia and
yeah, and he tried to say he was connected to Al Qaeda and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, where are you bringing? Like, I was like, you're fighting in a cage. I was like, why are you bringing in terrorism and
oh yeah,
what?
Habib definitely humbled them. Like I've seen a lot of people say that, and I definitely agree with it. Is Habib
Yeah.
humbled McGregor because McGregor learned his lesson from chatting too much that the guy
Well,
then actually actively wants to kill you.
To be fair, Khabib's the wrong guy. You trash talk definitely.
You think about what happened. He absolutely destroyed him. Like was all over him, completely destroyed him. And then as soon as he beat him, as soon as the ref called him off, he then jumped the cage and fly kicked his teammate.
Yeah, but what was funny though is that the whole time is that they kept saying that like Conor McGregor is Mystic Mac and he predicts everything, while Khabib was like, "You're gonna keep talking and then I'm gonna beat you humble." That's what he said. I'm gonna beat you humble, and he did.
That's exactly what he
Oh,
did.
oh man! And while he's beating him up, shouting, "Let's talk now. Let's talk now. Let's."
We talk now. McGregor's like, it was only business. I'm sorry.
Sell the fight, and he's like, "No, let's
He
talk
actually,
now."
he actually said that in the cage as well. There's like a clip where you can hear McGregor while like Habib's on top of him saying, "Are we talk now?" You can hear McGregor go, "I'm sorry, it was just business." He's like, "No, no."
DC was talking about as well that after the fight when he fly kicked the teammate, DC grabbed him, like bear hugged him, and he's like, "What are you doing, Khabib?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'm just kicking people." I was like,
That was
oh,
crazy when that
oh,
happened.
I
I
don't
can
know.
say somebody got in the cage and sucker punched McGregor as well. McGregor's just been choked out. He's lying there like, whoa, this guy just runs in and hooks him.
Crazy. So yes, I would love to
What the
see.
hell is that?
I would love to see Conor McGregor in a wrestling ring, but I want to see him in an AEW ring rather than a WWE ring.
Nah, disagree.
Let me tell you for why, good sir.
Okay.
um, the reason why is that Conor McGregor is not a PG guy.
Hmm.
I think his promos would be most effective in an AEW or an Impact or
I disagree with you respectfully.
oft. Go on.
And I'll tell you for why. And it's actually, funnily enough, I disagree with you because I agree with you, right?
Oh, okay.
So I think you're right in terms of the PG stuff, which yeah, he would be able to do a lot more in say AEW than he would in WWE, but not everything. He's not AEW aren't going to start using the F word on TV, on ITV2 and in the UK and TNT. Where I think McGregor would be best is New Japan because he could do whatever the hell he wants there.
He would be the top foreign heel because they love a top foreign heel like a Jericho, like a
Will
oh
Ospreay,
yeah,
Omega,
AJ
John
Styles.
Cena.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, actually, that is a good point, but just
But
not.
he would need to be a great wrestler. He would need to become a very good wrestler if he was going to be good there. Because he
Yeah,
couldn't just go and strike. And although actually, it would be kind of cool to see like a wrestler who is a just a striker, isn't like a grappler.
yeah. We're, I, excuse me. I think we're running out of time here, so I'm going to skim through some of these guys. So we're like an hour and a half in, and we're still talking about these guys here.
An hour and 15.
Oh yeah, sorry, we talk rubbish before recording. That's why. My bad. my bad. I'm cutting the episode short here. My bad. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Um,
In terms of other guys though, like in terms of like past guys, Chael Sonnen. I mean, you can't talk about crossover appeal without talking about Chael
he,
Sonnen.
he
The
invented bringing the promo into the MMA.
yeah,
He
that's it.
probably did. Um,
You had a
who
bit
else?
of it with Shamrock and Ortiz though, to be fair. But
I think
obviously
that was just
that stemmed a
general.
lot from Shamrock's wrestling.
Yeah, and I think that was just general hatred. Like,
Oh, I mean, come on though. Have you never seen the promo where Shamrock says he'll beat him into living death?
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna beat you into a living death. And then T just goes he like kicks the chair. But it's like have you ever seen it when he kicks the chair?
No, I have, and just as soon as you said it actually sounds like a wrestling promo into a living death.
It's so funny though, because he kicks the chair, right? And Dana catches it, but it is so smooth. It's the way he's just looking at him and he just moves in the chair it doesn't topple or anything, it just goes straight up and Dana just catches it midair and it's such a weird whole situation.
Yeah. Who else would I like to see in WWE or like a wrestling program? I
I
would.
think would actually be quite a good wrestler as well.
Who?
Just thought Chael Sonnen, just
Yeah,
from
yeah,
before we kind of move
yeah,
on from him. Like
definitely.
I think because he obviously is a wrestler, he's like a grappler in the cage. I
He
think he
even
would be pretty good at it.
he even called himself like a wrestling name. I can imagine somebody strutting out of the ring being the American gangster, Chael Sonnen.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Oh, definitely. Uh,
Um, who else do I quite like on the mic? Oh, Colby Covington.
no. Oh no. He definitely. So although just what we're talking about with McGregor, similar with Colby Covington, couldn't put him in WWE. Could not
No,
let him do what he does in WWE.
oh no, 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 no.
Bag a hat and douchebaggery. Nah, you need to send him to oh, he would be the perfect foreign heel in New Japan. Could you
But they're
imagine that? Could you imagine his character and persona over in Japan as the foreign heel?
oh
Oh,
my.
that would be top level. Oh, that would be incredible. Oh, that would just be brilliant.
New Japan, get him signed, get it booked.
Imagine some of the names he'd come up with for the likes of Kazuchika Okada. Hey,
I,
morning, fake husband.
I dread to think, man. um,
As much as I don't like him as a person, I think he'd be pretty good as a foreign heel in Japan.
yeah, I think Masvidal would be good as well.
Masvidal would probably be really good. Although, funnily enough, speaking of Masvidal, right, I said this to you yesterday. Ben Askren. I think Ben Askren will end up being a wrestler soon. I think
Oh,
after the whole Jake Paul thing, he's going to go wrestle somewhere. And
man,
I think he'll be in AEW.
I don't know. He talks pretty clean. He could fit in a PG.
Yeah, I know, but I think in terms of his actual wrestling ability, he'd be better suited to an AEW or even like a Ring of Honor or something.
Yeah,
I think he'd be wasted in WWE. I think he'd sort of get lost in the shuffle a little bit there.
yeah, yeah. But because even like when he's like winding up Dana White and all that sort of stuff, it's always clean. He never really swears that much.
Yeah, he doesn't swear, but in terms of the way his sort of persona, I'd say it would fit more into like a sort of indie scene because it's very although he doesn't swear, it's still shit talking. It's shit talking that he does because
Yeah.
it's he just makes fun of them and the whole thing with Jake Paul and putting his hand in his face and he just rips the piss out of folk. And I think that wouldn't really fit into WWE because WWE take themselves way too seriously. Whereas I think it would fit in very well in AEW because that is very sort of edgy humor, so to speak. And AEW is a pretty edgy product. Yeah,
um,
I would like to see Askren in AEW. I think he'd fit in quite well there.
that would be cool. I noticed maybe not as much in the last one, but I noticed that Tony Ferguson was trying to embrace his inner WWE guy when he was trying to fight Khabib. See when he came with the shades and he had a baseball and a like a glove, and he
Tony Ferguson's weird though because he's really funny at the weigh-ins and stuff when he does his little ah
and
and
came around, I'm
screams and
calling you
stuff.
out, McNuggets.
No, but then see, apart from that, he has no personality.
he,
You see,
he
outside of those situations, when you see him in interviews or people in the street talking to him and stuff, he has no personality at all.
he doesn't know, but like last time I seen him, he was trying to build some sort of persona. He didn't know who he was though, because he had a glove and shades and a baseball, and he was
Just
just saying he was just saying really random stuff. that didn't make sense. But it wasn't.
Literally,
It was trying to be like somebody else, and then obviously you had the infamous "I'm calling you out" McNuggets.
it's funny. That was funny, but for the wrong reasons. But nah, it's very much like a throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. But
Yeah, because it's kind of like it kind of clicked in his head. He's like, "Oh, so this is like they're calling it the entertainment era MMA. So you have to be somebody you're not, right? Okay, I'm gonna bring a baseball and shades, and that'll be cool." Like you're like, no,
do you know who I think would actually be pretty good? Max Holloway. Max Holloway's a pretty entertaining guy.
the deadest man on the planet.
What?
That's what he calls himself. He's the deadest man on the planet.
Nice. Although, did you see the what do you call it Henry Cejudo was at an AEW show not long ago. See the one that Mike Tyson was at.
Yeah.
Henry Cejudo was there as well, and it sparked because he was very clearly spotted, and then he was like in a bunch of photos that were posted on social media. A lot of people started talking about because then obviously he then retired right before, it was around the same sort of time. So everybody's like, oh, is
No.
is is he going to wrestle?
Yeah. What do you think of this then, Michael Bisping?
Not now, but back in the day, yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
It'd
Yeah.
been cool to see him do a run back when he was in his prime, but now he's sort of he has his moments still. Like I don't know, have you ever seen the Kobe Covington interview? That
Mm,
he's interviewing him and just totally puts him in his place. He's like,
yeah.
just shut up. He's like, because I think he like compliments him or something, but then he says something about whoever it was Covington was fighting, and then Covington then goes on the defensive. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're all saying that I'm not this and I'm not that good, and oh, you're talking about my opponent and all this." But Biscuit's just like, if you like to maybe shut your mouth and listen, you'd hear that we were actually giving you a compliment. So
Oh,
maybe take that fake belt off your shoulder and shut your mouth.
yeah.
It's like, oh.
Oh, I no, I did hear that, but just Michael Bisping. To be fair, I don't even think he was in his peak. I thought his peak had passed when he won the belt. I don't know how he managed to do that.
No. I because did he not? Was he not like a last minute replacement for somebody? And then nobody thought he was going to win, and he did. You're like,
Yeah,
wait, what?
because he was like ranked like number 7 or something when he won the belt.
Yeah, because he was whoever it was that was supposed to fight, get pulled. So he was like a last minute replacement. He took the fight, and then to everyone's shock, he won. And we're like,
Yeah,
oh
because
my god.
Dana just phoned him and was like, "Do you want a title fight?" And he's like, "Dana, do I want a title fight? Of course I want a title fight."
Can you imagine?
Uh, he's like, "Why are you asking me? Just book it." Oh, but
Oh
then
man.
that's when that blooming promo came out when he was just like he's like you keep talking about your believe and your achieve. You sound like
That
the
was
worst
Rockhold,
motivational book
wasn't
I've
it?
ever read.
That was Luke Rockhold, wasn't it?
Because he was just like, yeah, man, when I believe I'm going to win and achieve my goals, and he's like, oh yeah, believe, achieve, yeah.
Oh man, yeah, no, Bespin has always been great in the mic, and like I say, I mean, he's shown recently that he's still got that sort of gift of the gab, but yeah, no, would have preferred to have seen him wrestle like when he could actually wrestle. Although he's got a glass eye now as well, which I
Yes,
remember when he was just like, oh yeah, look at this, I'm missing
yeah,
an eye. You're like, what?
because Dor Belfort kicked it out his socket.
Vitor TRT Belfort.
Oh, TRT Vitor, yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Because
uh,
that's what he said. Like he was on, I think he was on Joe Rogan, and he just quickly looked at. He was like, Joe Rogan was like, "This is what you thought," and he was like, "Look at him." He's like, "Why did I take that fight? Look at the state of him."
very clearly juiced out his mind.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like who I like. Oh, the Sugar Show.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think. See, it's difficult talking about guys who are currently fighting because a lot of them I want to see continue fighting.
Well,
Uh,
obviously, but like I'm just trying to think of like because obviously I don't know how they would be as like a wrestler, but I'm trying to think of basically the promo guys at MMA.
that's true.
Because if
Yeah.
if you can cut a promo on MMA, then you've basically got half of it down when you go across, right?
Do you know who I quite like to see? Cody No Love Garbrandt. I like that guy.
I do
I
like
like the cut of his jib.
what?
I don't know.
Uh,
Let me ask you this, though, right? Let me ask you this:
oh,
is there any wrestlers that you'd like to see fight?
who do you think's a legitimate badass? Well,
Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns could kick somebody's ass, I reckon.
Aleister Black.
Yeah, yeah. I would very much like to see him fight. He would be very good, I reckon. He'd be a
Mm,
very good striker, I think.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sort of mad spinny moves and all that good stuff.
Or the good
Uh,
dude.
I'm trying to think who'd be like a good actual fighter. Because this is the thing. Again, it's hard to know because any of these guys can put on a good show with choreographed moves, but then you
Yeah.
don't know how well they're going to do in a real fight when their
No.
opponent's not going to stand there and let them do their big move.
Yeah, we need the brawl for all to come back so they can show us.
Daniel Bryan, I reckon, would be very good.
Not now. Wait.
Not probably not now, but like I reckon Daniel Bryan could have legitimately wrestled. Well, because
Yeah.
we can,
Well,
and
that's what I would.
it only takes a slight adjustment of your positioning and pressure to make those submissions that he's doing legitimate submissions.
Yeah, of course. No, what I was going to say there as well is we just discussed like earlier in the podcast that Kurt Angle had offers, um,
Yeah, Kurt Angle
and
would have been good.
he would have, but he said that just as he got offered and he was thinking about it, he snapped his neck again, and he was like, "No."
Yeah.
And Undertaker, he said on Stone Cold's podcast, he said that he was gonna do it, but UFC was still at the two people get in a cage and we fight till one's sleeping. Like he was like, no, no, I'm not going to do that.
Title one sleeping. Go for a wee snooze.
Good night, night.
But no,
But
which I
yeah,
think though, because I mean, certainly any of them potentially could. I think like I remember, I think Kenny Omega was talking about it because he was saying like he considered doing it at one point, but then it was when he was considering doing it was then when he ended up going to Japan instead, and he
yeah,
went to like New Japan, obviously joined the Bullet Club and stuff. So he's like, well, no, I'll just do this, and then he's been one of the biggest names in wrestling since. But um, I think he would have been pretty cool to see actually fighting as well.
yeah,
Is
definitely.
there any women you'd want to see in the cage? That sounds
I'm
really
pretty.
creepy. Dad just I just asked if there was any women you want to see in a cage. You know what I mean, though. Like,
We did know what you meant, but I think you grabbed your own shovel and started digging. I don't know why you did that.
yeah, I did just kind of put myself right in that.
um,
Anyway, moving
yeah,
swiftly on. Um,
I'm pretty sure though. I don't know if this is factual or not, but WWE were trying to say that the Taya Conti is that her name?
take on it.
Take on it. That's it. That she was a legitimate fighter before.
She is.
Hmm.
No, but so she's a legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Yeah. So if your jiu-jitsu game's strong, then you can go in a cage.
Oh yeah,
Stop it.
Sorry, I can't. I know this is like total double standards, and probably if any women actually did listen to us, they'd hate us. But and they don't, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But
But for the purpose of the podcast, I'm going to now change my wording. I would like to see her in an octagon. I would really love that.
yeah, yes, octagon that happens to have a open fence around it that she can leave any time if she feels as though she wants to. I'm making it worse. Somehow I feel like I'm making it worse. I don't know why.
I don't know what's happened for the viewers here. He's had a breakdown at the end of this podcast. I don't know what's going on.
That just cracked me up. No, but yeah, she she would be pretty good. Uh, uh, but no, she would be good. I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, obviously Shayna Baszler. It seems like a legitimate badass, and although she didn't do so well her first time around, obviously that was a pretty long time ago now. So you never know if she was to go back to it now, if she would be maybe better with new experience and stuff. Um,
Is it bad that I want to see Nia Jax just so she gets knocked out?
well, they don't have a weight class for her though. I need to stop digging myself into these holes. I didn't mean that in like a shitty way. I just meant they genuinely don't have a female weight class for her because the only like highest weight class is like bantamweight. She's certainly not a fucking bantamweight. She'll have the Brock Lesnar problem. They will need to make a super heavyweight class for her. She's gonna fight.
You can fight Brock Lesnar's daughter.
She can fight Brock Lesnar. They're both super heavyweights.
Oh man.
Oh, man, I need to stop putting myself in these. I can't believe that was twice in a row. I dug myself straight into a hole there. But I'm trying to think. I mean, to be fair, there aren't actually. Maybe Hikaru Shida. Maybe I don't know. She
Like,
seems like a pretty mean striker.
does this go back to what maybe the Undertaker was talking about? Are we struggling to find names because wrestling's gone soft?
Well, see, this is the thing because it's hard really because it, with wrestling, it's obviously different to try and imagine what they'd be like actually striking.
Yeah,
Like, because with wrestling, you're doing like your big sort of grapple moves and all that kind of thing. Whereas
of
if
course.
they were fighting in the UFC, then it would be just straight up strikes and or ground game and stuff. But
Yeah. To be fair, when you look at it like that, I would never have said that Batista could have won a one because like he looked just like he was a big dude, but I was like that doesn't really mean anything when you're versing another big dude. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's true.
Um,
I
I
think.
would have, I would have liked to see Samoa Joe have won.
Yeah, Samoa Joe would have been good, I reckon. He would have been like a submission machine. Literally, the Samoan submission machine.
He would have been a Samoan submission machine, would he?
Um, Shut up. I mean that. I didn't mean to accidentally come up with his own nickname. But no, he would. I reckon he would have been. He would have been the way that like Habib is. So like just pure dominance with grappling.
See, to be fair though, he's like a big dude and he's quite a heavy dude. He would have been one of them. Like once he was like on you, you wouldn't be able to get him off.
No,
You,
yeah. Plus, you don't actually see that a lot with the heavyweights. You don't see most of them have just got the big power. There's not a lot of like,
big, yeah, just big punches. Like,
yeah,
could you imagine? He's like this big smothering heavyweight that just like takes you down and then you can't
he's so
move.
fast. He's so fast for his size, which there aren't a lot of heavyweights that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
aren't a lot of heavyweights in the UFC that are that fast.
Mm-hmm. Could could you imagine though, like just like fantasy booking here? Could you imagine like a big Francis Ngannou coming over to WWE or something?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'd say there's a lot more appeal in some of the heavyweights coming over, just because Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. Um,
Yeah, he's not gonna be asking Demetrius Johnson to come to WWE anytime soon. You know what I mean?
maybe for 205 Live.
What's 205 Live?
Don't know.
You
Um,
know?
oh wait, it's the name of one of our episodes of Shit Work.
Oh
But
yeah.
cheap plug. Uh, but no, I think Stipe would be cool. Stipe would be pretty good guy. I reckon, because he'd be like your classic eat your vitamins, say your prayers hero kind of guy. Because obviously they play into the whole he's a firefighter and all that
Oh,
sort of stuff.
I don't know though, because he's part Croatian as well, so they probably have him in with big Dominic Dijakovic because he's half Croatian too.
Put him in the retribution.
Is that still a thing?
Well, I know they kicked Mustafa Ali out, but I don't know if they're still a group without him or. Oh, that's a whole other, that could be its own episode, Retribution.
That's good, man. That how they should have booked Retribution. Like stay tuned for that one.
Well, I mean, if you do want to check that out, I did do an article on Hooked on Wrestling for how they should have booked the well, it's under how they should have booked the SmackDown hacker, and it leads into the whole Retribution thing. So yeah, go check that out. But cheap plug. But
Um,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
Um. Yeah, but to you being honest though, I cannot think of any more names. I'm going to be honest with you.
yeah, I can't really think of anyone else either, particularly.
No.
Like I say, I think the biggest ones are your obvious guys, like your Kobe Covington, Chael Sonnen, these really great talkers moving over. But in terms of WWE to MMA, there's not really many guys that I can think of that I know would be really good at it. Like it's hard to know when you can only see them do fake fighting. It's hard
Yeah,
to predict how
big
good they be real fighting.
big Derek Lewis on AEW or something.
Jesus, could you imagine?
My
Like,
balls,
he could fight Shaq.
because my balls were hot.
Miles was hot. Uh, but nah. I mean, you never know. Maybe we'll see Ronda Rousey's husband, Travis Brown, make an appearance one day in WWE. He was a heavyweight fighter, wasn't
Yeah, yeah, he was. But I doubt it because Ronda Rousey would just be like, "Oh, the fans are terrible. Don't do it."
he? You ever seen the interview that Chael Sonnen's doing? And somebody asked one of the other people doing it, asked him, "Oh, do you think Travis Brown will ever win the heavyweight title?" And he doesn't realize that they're on air. He goes, "Could you imagine?" He went, "Oh, wait, what the world title?" And they were like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, no, what? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard."
That's funny. Do you think he'll ever win the title? Could you imagine?
Because he thought they were just making a joke off air, and then he was like, "Oh wait, we're filming."
Actually, to be fair, we are really missing something here. One last name because he just Adesanya.
Just a little light bulb. Oh, of course. How can we forget Adesanya? He would be incredible. Oh yeah,
It's just a light bulb moment. I was like, oh my god.
yeah. Ah, damn, yeah. Adesanya would be amazing. With question mark kicks and all that sort of stuff. He could pull off so many cool moves.
You know, dancing to the ring.
Yeah. Oh my God. How could we forget Adesanya? He's literally the best choice, best fantasy MMA to WWE guy ever.
Yeah, he dances. He's pretty good on the mic. You know.
He's better than the Meg. The only problem is he would obviously need to stop using the N word so much. But apart from that,
Yeah, because that's not acceptable in any wrestling program.
I don't even think Japan will let you away with that one.
Nope, no N bombs allowed. Nope, nope.
Apart from that, yeah, it'd be great. um, but yeah, I, I think there's always going to be that sort of crossover appeal, which ironically is why we're now doing it too. But I think because the sports are so similar, but just different enough to have their own separate fan bases. But there's so many people who are a fan of both, which is also partly the inspiration for us doing both on the podcast.
Yeah, But don't worry, guys. Like most of the episodes are going to be separate, and we'll let you know when we post them as well, so you'll know. You don't want to be like, oh, I can't wait to listen to this wrestling podcast. And then we're like, yeah, so that fight was a good fight. Like, yeah.
To be fair though, I don't think anyone has ever said that about our show.
Oh man, you
Oh,
just
I can't wait to get home and listen to the new episode of Shit the Work.
now you just killed our push, man. God, sponsors are like pulling out left and right now.
Oh yes, the many sponsors. The Coors Light, not Bud Light, because Bud Light won't pay me nothing. No, but we don't have sponsors. We don't have money. It would be nice if there are any sponsors. Oh, also, Monster sponsor us. I have spent a lot of money with your company, and I would like some of it back.
Uh,
Like a return on my investment now, please. But
yeah, I think to be fair though, it's probably a good place to do the old wrapping up and all that, you know. Um,
just before we do as well, speaking of cheap plugs, I hope you guys like the new logo that was drawn by yours truly. Uh, and yeah, let me know what you think of it, because
as you can see, I don't really look like that. I don't look like that, man.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Oh my God! I can't believe we forgot one. Baron Corbin, the actual former bare knuckle boxing champion.
Oh
He
yeah, and Golden
will
Glove.
be pretty good in the cage.
Yeah,
But anyway, uh, don't worry. It's pretty normal to forget about Baron Corbin, but Vince McMahon did for years.
oh man, I'm so glad that he embraced the baldness. No, that was the
Yeah, although I feel like he kind of rocked the like Gollum hair, like the thinning hairline back to here.
where his hairline started at the middle of his head.
Apart from like the one little triangle that comes forward, and then it's so thin that you could probably use it to like I don't know floss your teeth or something.
What's in your teeth with Baron Corbin's hair? Mm-mm.
It's even nastier now that he's got none in his head. Oh man.
Oh,
Yeah, I think this is a lost cause now, so we should probably just wrap it up. But in the meantime, I have been Lewis.
and I have been Jason, and he is
This
broken.
has
And
been
this
Shoot the Work.
should that work?